Leigh, one man who probably didn't have the best night, but has certainly been touted as the superstar of the future of the competition, is Sam Darcy. Interested to get your take on him at the moment.
Well, there's been a trend, I guess, over time where the big power forward, like the 200 centimetre, almost the ruckman forward, like there's not many of them, and Sam Darcy's 208 centimetres, but that player's really struggling. Like contested marks in the forward 50, each team only takes 2 or 3 a week. So a Sam Darcy, because at 208 centimetres, he's got to be pretty slow at ground level comparative to your normal runners, right? So he has to take a lot of marks. He played on Harris Andrews, and I was really interested to see how that would play out, and Harris Andrews got him, basically. And I'm not talking so much about Sam Darcy. I reckon he'll be a magnificent ruck forward, but I don't think he's going to be a magnificent forward. And that's partly because the whole industry, maybe it's the defensive mechanism, defensive structures, the ability of the spoiling defenders. Those big and I'm not talking about the running centre-half forward type players. The guys who play the big full forward type position, you know, they just are actually not dominating the game. Even the high-scoring game in the weekend, Ben King, he's one of those. He got 4, but most of them were ground level goals. They weren't actually big
leading or
marks.
Easy leads.
Well, all actually leading into the leading into space is the problem because there's not much space. Anyway, I just thought the Sam Darcy, when they're talking about he's going to be a dominant influence in the game, he might be, but I reckon he'd be better in another generation than the current one.
Are we worried, Brownie? It's the key forward mafia, Lee's suggesting, and the numbers are showing as well that key forwards have struggled early on in the season in opening round. Is there? Do we need to bring the boys together and have a word?
It should be easy because the field will be more stretched out, and there should be more leading space. But
well, what's a part? So for him, let's say Darcy, what would you see as a pass mark?
Because his second efforts, he kicked a couple of goals on the Saturday from second efforts, but basically 3 or 4 goals has to be your break-even point for your 208 centimetre forward.
That's 90 goals in a season. We haven't seen that for 15
But I'm saying
years.
because that's what you've got to do. You've got to be able to clunk marks, kick goals, and if you can't do that 3 or 4 times, you're just going to slow down your defensive forwards.
It's going to be a fascinating watch this year, Sam Darcy. Big numbers last year, contested marks and goals per game as well.
Yeah, two per game. That's
2.8,
that's what I'm saying.
2.8, close to 3.
But that's little, isn't it? You've got to take more than that, surely, if you're going to dominate at that height.
It's going to be an interesting one. I've never done back-to-back, and you 3 have, and obviously Leigh is a coach. How much do you watch players under the microscope when you've done back-to-back and maybe some complacency starts to creep in, or do you become hyper-alert? Because I'm looking at a game on the weekend where the Lions, we all think they're the best team in the competition, then potentially daylight next. And Dane Zorko comes out and has 31 disposals and gets the plaudits for what he does offensively off half-back. But fundamentally, he's probably given up 3 goals through errors in this game, or even... I mean, the lack of effort there to get past Artie Jones early on in the game, in an important game as well, unfurling the flag in opening round. And that costs him a goal. Here at stoppage, no talk here between him and Ashcroft as well. His man gets out. And I just wonder at the moment if Dane Zorko is kick chasing, because that's where his plaudits and his pats on the back have come from, Brownie. Here poor defence as well from a couple of Brisbane's leaders, Zach Bailey as well. He's right next to Ed Richards here.
But isn't that the way Zorko plays? Oh, look, I thought he's outstanding, and I thought he gave Artie Jones a break, because Artie Jones's numbers were quite low, and I know he's out there contributing and helping his team, but he clearly won that contest on the night. So
from an offensive point of view,
he death riding him a bit early there, like that's round 1, and he would have been in the best handful of players on the ground, Dane Zorko, in terms of his impact and his ability to get the ball moving.
So we're hyper alert about them, and I think we're looking at them with a fine-tooth comb. Does that happen internally as well, or is it just brushed off as we were beaten by the Bulldogs? It might be a bit fresher than us.
Lee's perspective's interesting because obviously you're in the same boat, Leigh, where you're trying to get us home for a 3rd flag in a row. What's the coach's mindset when it comes to that?
Well, I think, you do the review the same as you've done, probably Chris Fagan's done for the last 10 years in a way, that, OK, things like that, things that you've pointed out, OK, we've got to be careful that we don't fall into this bad habit. Sometimes things just happen on the game, but Dane Zorko's main role is as an attacking halfback, and therefore, he'd be thinking, my attack is my strength, not my shutdown. Like, they've got other defenders who do the shutdown. So I don't think that necessarily means that the team's sort of belief or systems are different because of the 3 in a row. I mean, on Saturday night, they got beaten by a kick. They could have won by a kick. I mean, there wasn't much in the game. But
does that not highlight the importance of defending? I appreciate he starts at half-back, but...
I don't disagree with you because you're trying to get perfection. So you're trying to say to every player, we would like you to be perfect. And Dane Zorko, you've got to defend as well when it's your turn. I think, and if you point out something where he didn't, you think that'll probably be highlighted by at least the line coach.
You've got to be careful, mate. He likes to rip one in the lines early every year. So
I actually think it's a badge of honour, the fact that we watch them so closely. I watch them closer than any other team because we're all trying to pick a hole in them.
But they're not a super team. Last year they finished 3rd, and the year before that they finished 5th. They had a few good weeks at the end of September, so you win the premiership. You've got to be really careful, like too much. I mean, I know it's the premiership, you get the cup, but the form in your last week or two, the form over the last 6 months is pretty critical. I mean, the last super team in my time was Essendon in 2000, when they only lost 1 game for the whole year. Every other, you weren't dominant where you just won every week. I mean, so it's a struggle, and they've got to know that it's a struggle.
I think if Charlie Cameron had taken one of those opportunities in the last quarter, probably not looking at those edits. Yeah. But at the same time, I reckon they might have been there. I think it would be all about balance because you're going to give to get, especially with those attacking high half backers. You're going to give a little bit of the defensive stuff for what you get from the offence. And if the balance gets out of whack, well, then you need to have the.
But even the Bulldogs in the review, they conceded 15 goals. So, I mean, and the Lions conceded 15-odd goals. So in the review, so we didn't defend well enough. I mean, we can't go out there thinking we're going to concede 15 goals and win. Sometimes you might, but, gee, you've got to be scoring well, don't you?
Well, I think we all look through those games as a fine-tooth comb. You certainly don't want to be playing your best footy in opening round.
Saturday night was pulsating. It wouldn't be the first time that the first game of the season ends up being the best. It set a high watermark. So for the Bulldogs, they have stumbled out of the gates at various stages and sort of missed their moment to plant their flag. They lived the journey last year, which we well know they were the flat-track bullies. They couldn't beat the teams above them. So to step out and do it against the defending champs and to do it in the manner that they did from 26 points down, what impression has it left you with?
No, profound. So I did that practice game the week before and they were taking it very seriously against Hawthorn, but they carried that on. What I loved about it was 2 players I think are symptomatic of where they're at is English and Norton, who at various stages have been All-Australian. Aaron Norton had a good year, kicked 60 goals. But he just had a goal kicked against him by Darcy Ford. The game's in the balance, and this is what I love. Just dig in here. Take Fort somewhere where he's uncomfortable. There, that moment there, to me, because English was outstanding last week, and again this week was really important. That moment said a bit, and he kicks a really important goal, kicked 2 in the last quarter. And the other one is Aaron Norton, who's... Just look at these efforts here, Jared. He hadn't had a great night, so that's 1. He doesn't lose his feet. That's 2 back at Harris Andrews. And this is in the balance, and this is 3 again, turns the footy over. Ball ends up in English's hand. He kicks his 2nd goal. So to me, the message that, we are told that they are, banging the drum really hard at is never give up, tooth and nail, all that sort of stuff was encapsulated in those plays, and they played like it. 26 points down against the reigning premier in Brisbane on opening night, and they kick 8 of the next 11 goals. And, gee, they got some value out of Jakes, and Selwood was terrific. Butterick was a great choice. So we know they got top end. I didn't buy any of the nonsense that they had the best list in the league last year. I just wasn't buying it because the bottom part dropped away. On the form that we're seeing here, I think they make them better at the other end, which then means that they're going to be right there. Bontempelli did his bit, The other side of the coin, Lachie Neale was unbelievable for the Brisbane Lions, and Zorko was great. So it was a really good game. It was actually better than that. It was a great game of footy.
So Richard's ascension to be able to control the midfield and what that means for Bontempelli spinning forward when the game's on the line?
Yeah. So coach-wise, I thought Luke Beveridge had a great night in the box because it was in the balance. And he was brave enough to take the man who's, many of you say is the best player in the comp and start him forward, inside forward 50. And that means that you've got to have faith in what you leave behind. And Ed Richards just steps up and says, leave that to me. And he's the best player on the ground. And Bontempelli impacts enormously down here. And all of a sudden, Harris, who's had a great night on Sam Darcy, but then he couldn't... Darcy goes off and he's got Bont, and then Bont takes him somewhere he doesn't want to go. And this is the end result. I mean, these are uplifting moments, and we'll talk to our coaches about this. This is Luke Beveridge, he knows the camera's there. You're aware of that. Well, I'm assuming he's aware of that. But this is more than look. This is okay. We've invested heavily in this. There's been a narrative around that we can't take a big scalp. Well, we've just taken out the back-to-back premiers at home after giving up a 26-point start and we've kicked 8 of 11. Who's next?
Their own expectations rise. So we'll talk about the Lions' problems in a minute, but it was meritorious. And bar for Rayner missing the soccer goal in the square and Charlie Cameron, who kicked everything, missing the snap that he would kick 9 times out of 10. They're right there again. And just thinking through how early this premiership defence starts, it was full of merit from them as well.
No, I said it straight away that no one loses any respect at all. And they threw plenty of big punches. I mean, Lockie was fantastic. Zorko was fantastic. McCluggage was off the ground inside 5 or 10 minutes. And Charlie Cameron was, probably the best player on the ground in the first half and the best handful. So this wasn't a Western Bulldogs victory over a premier that coming off a shortened pre-season, which we look at Geelong on the back of that performance, talk about in a moment, and they just didn't look ready to play. For whatever reason. Well, Brisbane, probably their depth and quality goes a bit deeper than even the Cats, and they were pretty brave.